We're here today at the UWI Open Campus Grounds with Rode, Vincentian poet and linguist, who is our featured artist today. Is your poetry or your writing your sole means of income?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, it is not a source of income. Anthony Taylor's another Vincentian right now would have said, we don't write poetry until it's for financial gain. We do it mostly for closure.
So what would you say is your bread and butter?
Well, I am a teacher, French teacher at a secondary school.
Pursue any other language?
Yes, actually, I'm into languages very, very much. I speak Spanish also, and I'm trying to learn a couple other Eastern languages, Chinese, Japanese, and so on and so forth.
Do you ever include other languages in your writing?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have written a novel in French, and I have written numerous poems in French. At one point, you could have said French was my work language when I was in university. I mean, that's all I did. Right? I mean, it's a pleasure to write in another language, but being in our Vincentian culture, of course, we have to stick to English for the sake of comprehension.
Would you say the process is any different when writing a different language?
Well, with French, there's a lot of musicality and intonation in the language. It is softer and more fluid than English, actually. You write with this in mind, but the basic content of what you want to put down on paper remains the same. With the French language, you have various colloquialisms that enrich the language, so you sort of incorporate those in your language as well, in your production as well.
They say that French is a language of love. So would you say that it's better to write love-themed poems in that language?
Writing isn't restricted to love and all its implications, because life is too variegated. There is violence in life, and there's love. Life is beautiful in the sense that it has this plethora of this spectrum of different qualities. I'm just gonna raise one captive. You romanced my intellect, and I woke days after and found you made love to me over and over lunch, and I smiled, too embarrassed at how late I had been. Broken down, swung open, every bit of my body and soul now ache and tremble, waiting. That poem is called Captive. There are times when I would write poems in a matter of minutes, and there are times when I would write poems in a matter of weeks, months, and even years, right? So, and that would depend on the inspiration, because poetry comes to me, and I must write it down, and I must capture that in the purest and most refined way possible, and then that's what I present to the public. A poet can be fascinated by his own writing, because what he writes is not necessarily from him. He is basically like an instrument, a vessel through which poetry comes. So he can find, indeed, he can find pleasure and just fascination with certain poems. And this is the case with Solitude. This poem represents a certain perfection. I don't know, but I wrote it, and there's perfection in it, whether in the rhythm or whether in the meter of it. There's a certain even beauty in the sound of the poem. This poem is called Solitude, and again, it's a poem that fascinates me a lot. From the late summer window among the branches, where the sun gave up hope of dispelling the grim mist, the lonesome country woods took the shaping of a squared mirror with a tree in the clearing. She watched as the tree, helpless in the wind, shook her last goodbyes to her sunset-colored leaves, and would finally stand there, brown and bare, shaking violently in the gusty, chilly air. Leaves that dance forever in the sky. Silently she asked the wind not to change. And she saw, as she had seen other winters before, they spiraled down and settled there on the grassy floor. I've always existed in this space of solitude because writing for me requires that, right? And there's some people may see solitude as something to be shunned. Poets and literary minds and so on tend to be attracted towards solitude because for them that's where the inspiration comes out and they're able to think a lot and so on and so forth.